Well, Zach Rushing, you are headed to Hollywood Casino coming up on Friday, April 5th. How you been, man?
I'm doing good, man. I've been really busy lately. I'm on the road a lot these days, but it's pretty rewarding. I'm looking forward to getting up y'all's way and seeing exactly what West Virginia has to offer as far as people go.
Yeah, I was gonna say, have you gotten an opportunity to kind of see and visit West Virginia, or is this gonna be kind of a new experience for you a little bit?
I went there one time last year. I did a show in Logan, West Virginia, with my buddy Miss Winelda. She also a creator with the Winelda Diaries and this, that, and the other. We did a show there, 1,000 people. It was absolutely insane. One of my biggest shows to date. And I've noticed something about y'all's state. It's y'all are very similar to us. Y'all just talk different.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say it's varying, different styles of conversation, but the lifestyle, the geography, all of it is all pretty darn similar, and that's why I think the brand of comedy that you bring to the table is perfect for this region, perfect for this area. And I just want to know, out of curiosity, like, what inspired you to kind of get into your comedy content? Because I know a lot of it is just throwing that camera right in front of you and just giving your take on things, and I think it's just naturally worked so well.
To be honest with you, man, I never wanted to be like a comedian. I don't even brand myself as a comedian now. I call myself a motivational comic because there's enough stuff going on in today's world on everyday experiences where you can find humor in it, because it's kind of one of them deals. We're finally at the point in this nation that we can't cry about it, so we might as well laugh about it. It just started from me making videos about life experiences. Like my buddy who I played football with in college, he invited me to a barbecue, and he's a black man, and I went over there, and that was the most viral video I've ever had. And I just told the story of how my preconceptions of going over there and how nervous I was completely unjustified. They were some of the nicest people I've ever met before in my life, and they welcomed me into the family and everything. And people love that type of down home wholesomeness, just stories. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I do enough funny stuff throughout the day. I could write a book, but I can't make a video about all of them because community standards and whatnot.
That's obviously now kind of transitioned into this comedy tour. Had you ever gone into doing stand-up comedy before, or, is this kind of a new thing for you?
No, I never even thought about doing it. I mean, I had a bunch of teachers coming up through school told me I'd never make money, being the class clown, and I've saw quite a few of them recently, and I said, y'all are wrong. But no, I've never really wanted to be a comedian. It just kind of happened, man. I have a knack for, I guess, connecting with people, as I guess is what you would call it. So they enjoy hearing my stories and my torment. They really like it when stuff happens to me, and I feel like if I can bring a smile to the world, I might as well do it. And going back to what you said a second ago, community standards is so choked down these days on social media and all. One of the main reasons, actually the main reason that I decided to go out on tour, was the fact that I learned the first time I got on stage that microphone doesn't have any community standards on it. So I'm able to actually reinstitute the right to free speech and say what I want and how I feel and this, that, and the other. And throughout my shenanigans all over the nation in these past 2 years, I've learned that there's a bunch of people out there that feel exactly like I feel. I mean, they feel exactly the way I do about what's going on in this nation, what our kids are into, what we're pushing on them, this, that, and the other. And like I said, we can't cry about it because, real men ain't supposed to cry on a daily basis, so we can laugh about it.
Yeah, and I love that you're able to, like I said, take so many different, examples from your life, from your friends' lives, and turn it into a story. I think that's the thing is, comedy is all about storytelling. So, there's not really a super structure to it, or else it wouldn't be funny. Because if you're, thinking like, okay, I got to tell this joke at this time and this joke at this time, then, what's the point at the end of the day, right?
In 2 years on stage, I have never done the same show twice because I'm always up there, and like my team gets so nervous about it because they'll come to me side stage right before I go on. They're like, "Well, what's your order? What are you going to do?" Like, what I said, I don't know. I'll feel it out. I'll get out there. I just start talking. That's one thing I will say about me is I'm not a character. A lot of the content creators and comedians in today's time, they have created a character that they must play at all times while in front of people. I'm just Zach. I'm just Zach Rushing from Woolmarket, Mississippi, who I believe that we ought to put God back in schools. I believe we ought to take care of our veterans. I believe we should, love thy neighbor and give grace where it's needed. But that's all I am. That's all I've ever wanted to be. And because of my, I guess, values is what you would call it, I've learned there's a bunch of people out there that think like me, and they really like hearing the truth. And that's, I guess, why they gave me the nickname the Outlaw of Country Comedy, because I've not done one single thing like anybody told me to do. If they told me to go left, I went right. If they told me to go up, I went down. That's just how I do things. I ain't never been much on taking instructions, but it worked out in the long run for me, I reckon.
And you mentioned earlier that, not any one of your shows is directly similar to the previous one. You really try to kind of have a very unique brand of content every single time that you do a show. Do you typically kind of plan out a show based on, where you might be going? So say, for example, with going to Charlestown, it's like, all right, let's kind of play into, some of the things of West Virginia. Or I know you've got like a show in Iowa coming up. Like, do you kind of play to the crowd and like what, that state is into? Or do you just kind of find like, hey, what you're thinking of on that day, that's what we're talking about?
If I came into a state and I tried to do a show relative to the state, it would be oh shoot, I'm sorry, I'm in my office. I'll put it this way: it would be cheating the crowd, because that's not what they came there for. They came there to hear stories about me. And now, don't get me wrong, I have had instances like last week. I went to Nebraska to go do a show up there. It was a sold out crowd. There was 17 inches of snow on the ground, and the second that my boot hit the concrete, I went heels to Jesus. We don't have snow in South Mississippi, and I will tell you that when I walked on stage, I let them know that I appreciate y'all coming out, but I am not sure why y'all live here on purpose. It is way too cold for me. I don't defrost that way. I got out of the truck, and my manhood went from the size of a normal person to a Tic Tac, and I'm not okay with that. So little experiences like that, and we spend so much time on the road that experiences happen. Now, if I come into West Virginia and I pull up to a gas station and, something happens at a gas station and I can get on stage and let them know, hey, this was my welcome party into y'all's state, I will more than happily do that. But that's not what people came there for. They came there to hear the Southern, the Southern Outlaw of Country Comedy, just get after it and tell it like it is with no holds bar mentality, and that's what they're going to get every time.
There you go. I was going to say, speaking of gas stations, you'll have to stop at a Sheetz probably at some point whenever you go through West Virginia. That's like our Buc-ees up here, basically.
Oh, okay. Well, I do like Buc-ees now. They got some good peanuts.
Yeah. Minus the mascot. We don't have like the cool beaver and everything like that. That's one thing that I'm jealous about with y'all down there.
It's really not that cool, buddy. It's a fat rodent. It just fits the demographic down here.
There you go. Exactly. Now, what has been kind of your favorite moment on tour over these last 2 years? Like, if you could point out, like, hey, there's a show that I left there and I was like, well, that was the best night ever.
No, I know exactly when it was. I did a show in Morganton, North Carolina last year, and at our shows, a lot of times we offer meet and greets. We don't sell them online or anything like that, because we like to keep ticket prices affordable. That's why I have a $25 ticket at every one of my shows, because I don't want to break the bank for somebody to come out and have a good time. But at that Morgantown show, I was in the meet and greets, and a gentleman come up to me, and he was a veteran, which I am a very big supporter of our U.S. veterans. And he come up to me and he shook my hand, and he didn't even want to take a picture. He waited in that long line to meet me for the simple reason to tell me that he was going to make a very bad decision one day. And he had had enough. He didn't have anything to live for, this, that, and the other. He came up to me and he said, just before I was going to go do it, I picked up my phone and I clicked on my social media in order to make a post about it, to tell my family and stuff that I was sorry. And your video popped up. And by the end of my video, I don't remember exactly what video it was, but he said he felt so rejuvenated there was somebody out there that actually cared about the people that had fought to keep this country free, and that I had talked him off that cliff without even trying. That will always be the most special moment to me on tour. I don't know of anything that could top it, but to reach somebody and reach somebody's soul like that in an instance where they were going to make a really bad mistake, and just because of something that I put out there, it changed their mind and reassured them that the world's a better place with them here. That I don't know of anything that could top that. That is by far my favorite experience.
Yeah, and that's an incredible moment that just kind of, it reminds you of what you're doing and why you're doing it. I think that makes it, it brings it around full circle of like, okay, like this is why I'm blessed with this opportunity, because I get to serve others in this kind of way. And,
yes.
With what you're doing with your tour as well, to kind of help with veterans and with kids, tell me a little bit about kind of that give back moment of your tour and of your business as well with Triple B Outdoors, of just kind of what you're doing to kind of, help that group.
Well, I was raised up to where, you always take care of somebody else. Don't do without, but don't be stingy either. That was my grandparents and my mom and dad. They instilled that in me. And then my own life experiences have kind of shaped that. I'm a 3-time cancer survivor. That's why I have the scar on my neck right here. I had Hodgkin's lymphoma 3 times. And while I was out there at MD Anderson in Houston receiving my 3rd round of chemo and radiation, I noticed that there was a lot of children that were receiving the same amount of chemo and radiation that I was. And I know how I felt as a grown man. So at that time, I was kind of down on myself because they had told me after my 3rd round that I could no longer be an organ donor. I could no longer give blood, and I have a very rare blood type. So I was basically, in my mind, no good to anybody. I needed to find my purpose on this earth. And I'll be honest with you, Ryan, I have not earned anything that I have been blessed with on this earth. I have just been me, and apparently that was enough. So I had to find a way to give back. So when I started my outdoor company, I made a pledge to my father 2 weeks after I started my LLC. And I said, look, man, I don't just want to be another outdoor brand that has deer and fish and stuff like that on our merchandise. I want to make a difference. I want when people put their, when they put my logo on any kind of clothing, that it stands for something. And he asked me what I wanted to do. And I said, I want to make a pledge. And I called around to different veteran homes and hospitals and this, that, and the other, and made sure that it was possible. I wanted to feed a homeless veteran for a day every item sold from my company. And up until this point, we've been able to do that. We've fed hundreds of thousands of them. And then once a year, we do a big fundraiser. And this is actually where a lot of it comes from my tour. When I go out on tour, we have merchandise that isn't available through, your Bass, Bucks, and Birds, your Be Outdoors and whatnot. The merchandise on tour, we have certain ones that are delegated to, they raise money for kids with cancer. Because once a year, the reason that, like I said, when I doing my chemo radiation, I came up with a way in order to motivate children to want to get back out there, because you can't motivate a child the same way that you can motivate an adult that's going through a sickness. Adults, we have responsibilities. We have to get out there. We have to get back to work. We have people who rely on us. Children don't have that burden. So how are you going to motivate a child? Well, I noticed that a lot of these families were strapped for cash. I started a foundation, the Zach Rushing Foundation, to where once a year around Christmas time, actually we do it in November, we send a letter from Santa to a children's hospital with a lot of children who are going to have to stay through the Christmas holidays in order to receive treatments because of the severity of their illness. And it's their top 10 toys that they want from Santa. They fill it out, they mail it back to us. And we, with the money that we raise all year long from tour and other fundraisers, we buy them the top toy off their list. We've bought A2000 baseball gloves, Xboxes, dirt bikes. It doesn't really matter, because in our minds, and mine especially, if we can give a kid a toy to wake up to and take a little bit of the burden of a holiday off of these families that are going through that, and that kid wakes up on Christmas morning, not only does he know that Santa didn't forget about him or her, but what it does is say, hey, look, can we hurry up? Can we push up my treatment? I want to go get this done so I can come back and play with my toy. Well, that gives them the motivation to want to fight for one more day, and that's really all that we're shooting for here. And it's probably the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my life, and I would like to continue it as long as I have the support of America and able to do these shows and whatnot. I'll be able to fund my dream.
Yeah, and that is absolutely remarkable. I mean, again, it gives you that motivation whenever you're doing that, the stand-up tour, to know that, hey, I'm coming up here, I'm making these people laugh, I'm telling all these stories, but at the end of the day, because all of these people have showed up, we're able to change kids' lives, we're able to change veterans' lives, we're able to really hit, both of those, scenarios there, where it's like you've got the people that are serving and sacrificing for our country, and these kids that, they need that push there to, to bring them even more joy in their life after they've gone through, such a challenging time. It's got to be just, an incredible blessing to go through that, on a nightly basis when you're out on tour and you're out on the road.
It's the motivation for getting out and leaving my family in order to go do it. Pay it forward. We've all been blessed in this world. It's all about what we do with our blessings, and I'm just trying to do the most that I can with mine to affect someone else's life. That's simply all it is. And if we can share some laughs and I get to meet some amazing people across the nation in the meantime, I'm all for it.
Zach Rushing, thanks so much for hopping on. Have a great rest of your day, and good luck the rest of the tour.
Appreciate it, man. Y'all be good now.